How's it going, everyone? I am back with another video. This is going to be my week 5 score predictions video, where I'm going to go through all the week 5 games taking place, predict the final score, talk about how I think the games are going to go, and all that good stuff. So, just dive straight in here. So, the first game, I made a separate video for this one, just talking about this game was the Thursday game, Niners Rams. I predicted the Rams to win 23-17. Did not happen. And again, this isn't like a recap video. I'll talk about this game more when I recap week 5 sometime next week, early next week, maybe, hopefully at least. Niners, I thought might get a bit more offense, and people were expecting they got even more offense than I was expecting. Um, I'm not too shocked they won. I was surprised at how favored the Rams were, even though I had the Rams winning. That was a really good game. I was relatively a bit close to my score prediction. What was it? 20 what was it? The final score 26-23, something like that. 26-23, right? Not losing my mind. I need to look this up. Yeah, 26-23. So I was sort of close. I got the Rams score right. Niners, I was just only 9 points off. But to use the pun there. But anyway, this was a good game. 4-1 of my Thursday games, my first incorrect Thursday winner prediction. So that stains, but at least my guy Mac Jones looked good. But I'll talk about this game more in my recap video. So the first game is Vikings Browns. It's the international game, so it's starting early. 9:30 my time out on the East Coast. I'm going to predict the Vikings to win. I am very not now. I'm sort of confident with the Vikings bit, but I was initially not too confident in either team this game. At first, I was going to pick the Browns, and I was kind of leaning the Browns. And then Myles Garrett seems a bit banged up. I think he's going to play, but he seems a bit banged up. And I'm like, do I really think the Vikings are going to lose, two in a row, and one of them being to this Browns team? I don't know. I mean, that was absolutely could happen, but I don't know if I'm going to go out and predict it. I mean, I'm not predicting it. And then another thing is, Joe Flacco's been terrible this season, but starting Dillon Gabriel, maybe that can, maybe it'll be like a bit of a Jackson Dart effect, boost to the offense. No film on Gabriel, so maybe that plays a part for the Browns here, gives them a bit of a boost. But going against a Brian Flores defense with an abysmal offense, that could be an absolute nightmare for Dillon Gabriel and company. Might be a tough debut for Dillon Gabriel, though. We thought that last week too for Jackson Dart, and then obviously that didn't happen. Jackson Dart, he didn't light it up, but he looked pretty good, and the Giants pulled off the upset there. But this Vikings, well, the Chargers defense is really good too, but this Vikings defense specializes with screwing around with quarterbacks' heads, and especially Dillon Gabriel making his first start. This could be a potential nightmare for him, I think. Browns defense, I think, is going to keep the game close, give them a chance to win. I don't think the Vikings are going to do too much on offense. Look for Garrett and that Browns defensive line to get a lot of pressure on Wentz. Maybe sack him, force him to get the ball quick, inaccurate passes, things like that. I just think the Vikings are just going to do enough to win this game. They're favored by 3.5. That's fair. I have them covering, but I probably wouldn't touch the spread because I wouldn't be too surprised if the Browns win. And again, if the Browns do win, I think their defense is going to do more than enough for them to win the game. Dillon Gabriel and company are just going to have to, just play disciplined football, not turn the ball over, and just, put up points on the board instead of putting the other team in position to do so with turnovers and such. So I'm going to predict the Vikings just to do enough to get the job done. Their defense plays well. Carson Wentz does just enough. Not too confident with them in this game, but I'm going to predict them to win the game 20-16 here. The next game, Raiders Colts. I'm actually looking forward to this game. I think this is going to be a bit closer than people were thinking. The Colts are favored by 7, which, going into the season, seeing this game on paper, you probably assumed, all right, well, the Colts, but they'll probably be favored like, a point and a half, maybe 2 points. I don't think anyone would have predicted them, maybe 3. I don't think anyone would have predicted them to be favored by 7. The Colts, I think, are legit. Now, when I say legit, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, but I certainly think they're a playoff contender, and they're going to make some noise in the playoffs. They have that potential. Um, at home, they're just the better team. They're playing better football right now than the Raiders. I think they'll get the win. And the Raiders, I keep waiting for the week. I keep saying in all my videos, the Raiders aren't great, but I don't think they're as bad as, people are saying they are. I mean, they probably should have beaten the Bears last week, although they did get some lucky breaks in that game. They still went on to lose. Geno was awful. He's been awful most of the season, except against my team. He was unstoppable week one. I think their offense is going to do a bit more than people were expecting. Gentry we saw last week against the Bears. It was kind of his breakout game. He went off. I don't think he'll, do as much in this game, but look for him to have another explosive game potentially. Maybe Geno bounces back in this one. I think the offense is better than people are expecting. I think it's a close game. It might be like the Raiders have a lead late and it's like they're going to win. Then the Colts end up putting a scoring drive and maybe on the board there, maybe a touchdown drive by Daniel Jones and company, give them the lead, and then they hold on to winning a close game at the end. I could see that scenario. Honestly, I think that's probably how the game's going to go. The Colts very well, as I mentioned, could cover the spread. I could see them just blowing the Raiders out, it not being too close. I don't think they'll win by like 3+ scores, but I could see them kind of winning by 2 scores, just having a comfortable lead most of the game. But I think it's going to go down to the wire, and the Colts are going to win. If the Raiders win, which I don't think is impossible, I think Gentry and the offense are going to have a good game. Gentry might go off, as I mentioned here. I think he'll have a good game anyway. But Geno's just going to stop turning the ball over. If he can do that, that'll be a key to the Raiders winning. And their defense is just going to have to play a bit better than I'm expecting it to, which the Raiders have a solid defense, I say every time, with Patrick Graham and company. But I'm just going to go with the Colts here. Better team at home, just more comfortable with them. I don't know if I would touch the spread, but I'm going to predict the Colts to win here. Could see it going either way. Could see the Raiders pulling off the upset, but I'm going to go with the Colts 27-24. Next game. This should be a really entertaining game. Broncos, Eagles. Now, the Eagles are favored by 4.5. That's, I could see them covering that, but I think regardless of who wins this game, I think it's going to be close and probably down to the last play of the game. I don't see either of these teams winning by 1 score unless, they maybe like against the Rams, the Eagles, the last play, get a blocked field goal and run it in to, win by 2 scores there. But, well, actually, technically, what were they up to? And they got that to make it 8. So technically, I think it was 1 score, if I remember right. Actually, I'm going to look it up because now this is going to drive me insane. No, it's 7. So, yep, technically, they only won by 1 score. But anyway, Denver's defense is no joke. They're one of the better defenses in the league. And, what's been the talk for most of the season? The Eagles' offense has been out of sync. The coaching's getting called into question. A.J. Brown, it feels like at least once a year he has his controversy with not getting the ball. That happened this past week after the Bucs game, even though they won. So maybe they try to force feed him the ball, get him to be happy there, or happier. He kind of not walked back his comments, but he just said, I'm happy here. I want to be here. It's just frustration over the offense in general. But yeah, Denver's defense is no joke. They could really cause some problems for the Eagles' offense this game. But then on the other end, the Eagles' defense is playing better and better. It was, not too great the first week until after the lightning delay against Dallas. But then since then, it's been one of the better defenses in the league. I think they'll probably force Bo Nix into maybe a bad turnover or two. He's kind of had a tendency to do that this season. So maybe that'll be a big difference in the game. Nix and company, I think the offense will kind of get it going. They'll have a decent game where they put up 21. That's a solid number against a good defense. So I think both teams probably scoring in the 20s. I'd honestly be a bit surprised if either team scored in the 30s. I could see like 20-17-ish. I could see that, but I think both teams score in the 20s here. Just I don't know. My gut's just telling me the Eagles, like kind of every game this season, they're gonna just be in it right at the end. And they're just gonna find a way to somehow win the game. Might be an ugly win, but I think they're gonna find a way to do it, like they have, pretty much every game this season. So I'm gonna predict the Eagles to marginally win 23-21. I wouldn't touch. I might bet Denver plus 4.5 because I think there's a decent chance they win the game outright, or if they lose, it's going to be by less than 5. So I might bet Denver plus 4.5. Again, Eagles very well could cover the spread. They just have to win by the equivalent of a not even, but they just win by a touchdown. They'll cover the spread. Maybe I see my gut's kind of telling me Saquon might pop a big runoff late, give the Eagles a big lead. Maybe Knicks and company are marching down the field. It looks like they're going to win. Then the Eagles defense holds. I just think Philly's just going to find a way to win at the end. Dramatic fashion, close win. If Denver does win this game, I think Bo Nix just going to have to limit the turnovers. He has a tendency to roll right, and that kind of limits his throwing window sometimes. So Vic Fangio, I'm sure he'll notice that. Maybe try to entrap Bo Nix into a turnover or two there. Knicks just has to cut down the turnovers. Denver's defense, I think, is going to play a good game, but there's probably going to be a couple drives. The Eagles march right down the field and score, and it's like the Eagles' offense is back, and then it won't be. Denver's defense really going to have to play a good game, I think, which I think they will, but maybe play a bit better than I'm expecting them to. Knicks and company maybe have to do a bit more on offense, limit the turnovers. That'll be their key to win the game. But I'm just going to pick the Eagles to get probably, close, traumatic, kind of ugly win where it's another week of, yep, Eagles won, but not too convincing. Denver, if they lose this, they'll be 2-3, which is why I'm not a big fan of the old saying, you are what your record says you are. Yes, that applies to some teams, but I mean, Denver right now is 2-2. They're better than a 2-2 team. I mean, you can argue Denver should be 4-0. And if they lose this, they'll be 2-3. They'll certainly be better than 2-3 if they lose this game. Maybe unless it's by a big margin. But anyway, I think the Eagles are going to win a close game here. Somehow get it done. I'm going to pick them to win the game 23-21. Should be an entertaining game, though. Dallas and the Jets. This is going to be another entertaining game. Could see this one going either way. I'm going to pick Dallas to win this one 27-23. I think a good amount of offense in this game. Both defenses are terrible. Dallas is one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. A talking point, Brian Schottenheimer said he feels like Matt Eberflus could be a secret weapon, knowing Justin Fields. But, you could have said that against the Bears 2 weeks ago, and the Bears offense absolutely torched them. So who knows there? Obviously, the Jets offense isn't as good as the Bears, not nearly as good. I don't know. I just think the Cowboys are a better team. They're playing better football right now. The Jets, I don't think by any means they're going to go winless on the season, but they're definitely playing, worse football than the Cowboys. They're 0-4. They feel kind of poorly coached at the moment. Not too much of a disciplined team. Aaron Glenn's apparently ripping them in the locker room for discipline after the game. I think they will get a good amount of obviously their offense. They want to pound the ball. They're a run first team because with Fields at quarterback. I think they'll get a good amount of rushing offense in the game. They'll put up a decent amount of points. I just kind of trust the Cowboys defense to get, even though it's awful and probably statistically worse than the Jets maybe. I think Dallas's defense, I kind of just trust them to get at least one more stop than the Jets defense. Dallas, even without Lamb in there, has been playing better offense than the Jets. I'm just going to pick Dallas. I don't want to overthink it too much. Just a better team outright. They're favored by 1.5. That's about right. I probably wouldn't bet the spread. I would just probably bet Dallas money line. If maybe if you want to just be super safe, just Dallas like +3. So they lose. I don't think it's by more than 3, but who knows? I mean, if they of course the Cowboys win. All they have to do to cover is just win by two or more points. So, the spread you'll get a bit better odds because it's a bit riskier if you bet Dallas there. The Jets again. This is like borderline a trap game, but I think the Cowboys kind of know. The Jets, they are 0-4. So, a typical trap game, 0-4 Jets team. Yep, this should be an easy win. You overlook them and lose. I don't think Dallas is going into this game with that mindset. I think they know the Jets are 0-4 and they're bad, but in pretty much all their games outside of the Bills game, they were right there up until the end of the game. And Dallas, I think, is going to know that. Dallas, I mean, they put up 40 against Green Bay, who's obviously very far ahead of the Jets, in a game Dallas was expected to get blown out in. They really should be beating the Jets here. And I know it's a week-to-week league, but I'm going to just roll with Dallas here. The Jets, again, if they do win the game, I do think they're going to have a decent day rushing the ball. They'll have a good amount of offense there. Maybe Fields in the passing game get rolling a bit. They play or they pass a bit more than they've done this season. They're productive in that department. Jets defense will just have to play a bit better than I'm expecting it to. Could see a Jets win, but I'm going to go with Dallas here to win a tight one, borderline shootout. Well, not really a shootout, but good amount of offense. I just trust the Dallas offense to simply put more points up than the Jets offense. So I'm going to roll Dallas here to win a tight one, 27-23. Giants Saints. There's a trend, at least for me, really since I started watching football and doing picks, is that the trend is it seems like the shittiest teams in the league when they play each other, the toughest games to pick. And honestly, both these teams are bad, obviously. I was kind of leaning the Giants, but then I thought about it more and more throughout the week, and I'm going to roll with the Saints here. They're favored by 1.5. I would probably stay away from the spread, period, because I think this game could go either way. If this was in MetLife, the Giants are the home team, I would pick the Giants probably. Saints, this just feels like a good spot for them to get their first win. I mean, the Saints are bad, but again, with the exception of that Seahawks game, sort of like the Jets, they've been right there. And honestly, I think, in my opinion, they've played better ball and they've looked better than the Jets this season. The Saints were right there in 3 of the 4 games. We just saw last week the Bills, which you can make an argument are the best team in the league. I don't think so, but you can make an argument they are. The Saints are right there with them. They're thrown in the end zone in the fourth quarter for a chance to take the lead. And I know they went on to lose by 2 scores, but still, they were right there with the Bills for most of the game. And they're at home. I'm sure the crowd. I mean, the Saints by no means are going to be a good team this year, at least as far as win-loss record. But Saints at home, the crowd knows this is a really good chance for them to win the first game of the year. I'm sure the crowd's going to give them a bit of a boost of energy there. Saints defense, it's not great, but it's decent on paper. With the exception of the Seattle game, it's been okay this year. I think they might have a good game in this one. Now, Jackson Dart definitely provided a boost of offense against the Chargers. However, now that Saints get a week of film on him, a big difference last week against the Chargers, in my opinion, was the Chargers had no film on Dart. He killed them scrambling, extending plays. Maybe that's a bit less this game, and it's only a game, but the Saints still have a full game of film on Dart. And also, obviously, the big X factor, Neighbors, is obviously out this game. He's unfortunately out the whole year, so that's going to provide a bit of a boost to the Saints defense, you would imagine. So I think the Saints defense plays a good game in this one. The Saints offense, it's kind of shown sparks of being decent at points this year. I think they have a decent game. By no means do I think they go off. The Giants defense, I think all 4 units, both offense and defense for both these teams, kind of play solid games. I think the Giants defense plays good, sort of limits the Saints. I think Dart and company, they have a decent game, but I don't think and again, they didn't, move the ball, 500 yards of offense against the Chargers last week, but they moved the ball decently. I don't think they do it as much this game. I think the Saints, I don't know, my gut just kind of told me the Saints get their first win. I could see a bit of a weird scenario where the Saints, they just kind of just absolutely get everything to go their way. They're just killing the Giants. They win by a decent score, maybe like 14, 17 points, but I don't think that'll happen. I think regardless of who wins this game, it's within a few points. If the Giants win, I think their pass rush might be a big X factor. They, pressure Rattler, cause him to make some bad decisions. And their offense, I think Dart and company are going to have to do a bit more than I'm expecting them to, which is very plausible, very realistic. And again, two bad teams, but this is actually a very intriguing match. I'm definitely staying away from this betting. Maybe I'll throw the Saints in like my risky money line parlay that I do every Sunday. But yeah, absolutely would stay away from the spread. But I'm going to pick the Saints here. Yeah, tight. I mean, I'm honestly very intrigued of how this game plays out, even though it's two bad teams. So sorry, Dylan, if you're watching this, but this will be a really interesting game. But yeah, I'm gonna pick the Saints, get the job done, just do enough, get the first win, feel good game for them, and win the game 2017 here. Texans Ravens. This is a really tough one. Now, if Lamar was playing, I would pick the Ravens. And honestly, even without him, they'll be starting Cooper Rush. Baltimore will. I'm tempted, even with Cooper Rush, to pick the Ravens. I could see a scenario where Cooper Rush and company in the offense kind of get it going, not light it up, but they put up like 23, 24 points, something like that, and they get it going and they move the ball and score more than people are expecting them to. I could see that, and Baltimore wins the game, but I don't know. I can't pick the Ravens right now. The Texans aren't great by any metric either. Their defense has been really good most of this year. Their offense has obviously been a mess, but maybe it figured something out in the fourth quarter against the Titans last week. And, the Ravens defense is just an abomination right now. They're absolutely, getting killed with injuries. They're missing over half their starters, for Christ's sake, on the defensive side of the ball. It's a really prime opportunity for the Texans offense to continue on their fourth quarter performance. They had against a solid Titans defense last week. I don't have them, I only have them scoring 20. I think the Ravens defense will play a bit better than people were expecting, but I mean, the Texans defense is really good. I think they'll be able to contain, the Ravens offense, and I don't know. I just trust them a bit more with Cooper Rush and starting in the banged up Ravens defense. If this was in Houston, I feel a bit better. But the Ravens were favored by 3 or 4.5, I think, before Lamar was announced out, and then as soon as he got announced out, which I think it was just actually earlier today they officially announced, but it looked like he was trending towards not playing. The line shifted in favor of the Texans, who are favored by 1.5 now. Yeah, again, I could see Baltimore winning. Maybe this is the game Derrick Henry pops off. He has a performance similar to Week 1. Maybe they're just trying to make it easy for Cooper Rush. They just get Derrick Henry in the run game going. Cooper Rush it's an interesting signing for the Ravens. He's a solid backup. We saw in his time in Dallas, he actually has a winning record as a starter, and it's a good sample size. He looked pretty solid in Dallas for the most part when, he's filling in for Dak. But, the Ravens offense obviously built around mobility and, speed with, Lamar. Cooper Rush is not that quarterback. Now, that's why they had Tyler Huntley for so long. He's he has a skill set as far as at least speed and mobility similar to Lamar, so he's a good scheme fit. Cooper Rush, a bit of an interesting scheme fit, but I don't know. Maybe Cooper Rush can play like he did in Dallas. He doesn't turn the ball over, plays a clean game, gives him the chance. I'm just going to trust the Texans a bit more. I think their defense, it's a big factor for why they win the game. The offense does just enough to win the game here. Texans obviously getting a break with Lamar not playing, all the Ravens injuries. So I'm going to pick Houston, but I would not bet on this game because I would not be surprised if the Ravens win. I'm tempted to pick them even, with the injuries and Cooper Rush starting. If the Ravens do win the game, again, I keep saying here, I think it's very realistic, very possible. Their defense, I could see their defense playing a surprisingly good game. And Cooper Rush and company in the offense just not popping off, but, performing better than people are expecting. That'll be key for the Ravens. Maybe Derrick Henry gets it going. But I'm going to roll the Texans here to win the game. Tight one, 20-16. Dolphins, Panthers. Yeah, this is a tough one, too. The Dolphins are favored by 1.5, and I kind of was thinking the Dolphins and was going to pick them, and then the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to roll the Panthers here. Now, the Dolphins, it feels like their offense outside of the first week has actually been similar to how the Dolphins have looked the past couple seasons. They're getting, better on offense. Their defense is playing a bit better. The Panthers, even though I don't think the Panthers are going to be a good. I thought they were going into the year they'd be a decent team, but I don't think they're going to be a good team this year. At least that's what the signs the first couple weeks are indicating. Maybe they'll perform like they did the back half of the season, like they did last year, and pick it up a bit. Um, but the Panthers at home are a really good team. I mean, we saw them against the Falcons 2 weeks ago. No one expected them to win 30-0, even if they expected them to win. I don't think by any means they'll win by that margin here. But I don't know. At home, my gut's just kind of telling me Panthers get back on track and win. Tyreek being out is obviously a big blow for the Dolphins. Um, I could see the Dolphins offense really causing issues to the Panthers. Like, the speed of the Dolphins, even without Hill, you still got Waddle, you get Achane out of the backfield. They always love to dump it down to him on screen passes. Darren Waller had 2 touchdowns last week. Not that he's a big speed threat, but the Dolphins still have some weapons, even with Hill out. Their defense is playing a bit better. They've been playing better ball since week 1. I very well could see them winning the game, and that's the key for them. Their offense, an explosive play or two, could be the difference in this one. Achane, maybe he is a big game. The defense plays a bit better, but I think the Panthers' offense is going to be the reason they win the game. I think they get back on track. The Dolphins' defense kind of struggles in this one. Panthers' defense, even though I don't think it'll play too great, I just trust them. Maybe get one more stop than the Dolphins' defense. I'm going to roll with Carolina to win this one at home, but I would not at all be surprised if the Dolphins win. Kind of want to pick the Dolphins. Hopefully this one doesn't bite me, but I'm going to roll the Panthers to win the game 27-23 here. Titans, Cardinals. Yep, definitely going with the Cardinals here. The Titans are just a complete disaster, as I say every time I talk about the Titans this season. It feels like Callahan has just borderline lost the locker room. He needs to be fired. The Cardinals, they're on a 2-game losing streak, but 2 tough losses. You can argue they probably should have won that 49ers game. You just had to get the first down there. They win the game. They don't. Their defense got torched in the last drive by Mac Jones and company, who again looked excellent last week against the Rams, or last night against the Rams rather. My old guy from the Patriots. It's amazing what happens when he's in a system that supports him instead of having Matt Patricia as his defensive or his offensive coordinator along with Joe Judge. Almost like that was a big mistake, but that's okay. And we still somehow won 8 games that year. We're 1 win away in a winner. If we had won against the Bills week 18, we would have made the playoffs as with Matt Patricia as our offensive coordinator. But anyway, getting off topic here. I mean, Arizona, like I was just saying before I got sidetracked, two tough losses in a row, but I think they bounced back here. They are getting banged up at running back, though. Obviously, Connor 2 weeks ago is out for the year. It was announced, and then Trey Benson, kind of out of nowhere, at least that I didn't see, just got put on IR. So DeMercado is going to be the running back 1. So, I don't think the Titans defense is solid. I think they'll, keep it relatively close. But DeMercado going to be running back 1 for Arizona in this game. I think the Cardinals defense is going to be what wins in the game. They've been really good this year. Titans offense has been an absolute disaster. Cam Ward himself has actually played decent, but just the coaching is awful. The receivers can't catch passes; they're dropping them. Miscommunication, just not great for the Titans offense. Hargrave, I figured maybe they get a bit of a boost of offense with him calling plays last week. Callahan gave him the play calling duties, and they put up a grand total of 0 points. So. And again, Joey Swan, my old guy from the Patriots from last year, a kicker. He missed a field goal, so maybe they should have at least put up 3, but still. It was like a 40-something yarder, so, not a chip shot, but he's more than capable of making those. I think it was 40-something yarder, 46, something like that. I forget the exact number off the top of my head. But going against really solid Cardinals defense, they're on the road. I don't think the offense is going to do too much in this game. Again, I think the Titans defense will probably keep it relatively close to the Cardinals. Will probably, have like 17, 18 points in the fourth quarter. And sorry, my dad just told me dinner's ready. But I think the Cardinals will have like 17 or 18 points in the fourth quarter and get a touchdown or field goal, something like that to kind of open up the lead, give them a comfortable lead. I think the Titans defense plays solid, keeps it close, but I just can't pick the Titans at all. Cardinals favored by 7.5. I had them covering that, but I would probably stay away from that. I like to stay away from big spreads, especially the Cardinals offense. We've seen it's just kind of been like meh for like 2 years now. If the Titans pull off the upset, I could see a scenario where their offense just no, I'm shit on here. It just randomly pops off. I think that's going to be the case. It have to be the case. Their defense, I think, again, will play decent, but I think their offense is going to have to randomly pop off. It'll be a random game where that happens. But I feel pretty comfortable with the Cardinals to win the game straight up here. I'm going to predict them to win the game 26-13 in this one. Bucks Seahawks. This should be a really good game. Now, Seahawks, you can argue, are getting a bit of a break with Bucky Irving not playing in this game. At least it looks like that. And, the Bucks are just injured beyond belief, even before Bucky Irving. So you can argue Seattle's getting a break here. I'm going to pick the Seahawks to win this game. Tight one on the road in Seattle. I think their defense is going to, really play a good game this one, even though I have the Bucks scoring 20, respectable amount against a really good defense, even though they're banged up. Seattle's defense is just playing. It's been playing at a high level all year, and so is the Bucks defense. But I'm Seattle at home. I'm just trusting them a bit more in this game. I think their defense. We've seen the Bucks defense, even though it's really good with Todd Bowles. The aggressive tendencies, even though they work most of the time, tend to occasionally bite the Bucks from time to time. So maybe the Seahawks get a big run or they get a deep shot from that. That's a big difference in the game. Seattle's defense, I think, contains Baker and company, fairly well in this game. But I think Baker and company have a decent day offensively. But I just trust Seattle's defense in this game more than the Bucks, especially with it being in Seattle. The Bucks defense, I think, will play well. There's probably going to be a good period in this game that the Seahawks offense is not moving the ball. They're not doing too much. The Bucks defense looks great. But I think, Seattle's defense is going to give them some life. Their offense gets a big burst of momentum. That's going to be what wins them the game, maybe. If the Bucks win the game, again, I think their defense will play well. Their offense is just going to have to do a bit more than I'm expecting them to, which I very well could see. Seahawks favored by 3.5. I had them covering that, but I probably wouldn't bet it because I think this is borderline a coin flip game. If this was in Tampa, I would probably be picking the Bucks. But it being in Seattle, I'm going to roll the Seahawks to win a close game here. By the way, I think both these teams are wearing their retro jerseys, so the jersey matchup is going to be absolutely insane. But I'm going to pick the Seahawks from this game 24-20. Could go either way. Very entertaining game. Should be, at least on paper. But I'm going to go with Seattle. Get a tight one here. Win a tight one. Detroit, Cincy. I don't think this will be a tight game. The Lions are favored by 10.5 points on the road in Cincy. Bengals are just a mess right now. They got the doors blown off them by the Vikings, and they probably had some unlucky things happen to them in that game. But then Denver, they go down the field and score, and then they get force a 3-and-out. I'm like, okay, here we go, Cincy. And then they just get the doors blown off, and their offense did absolutely nothing after their first drive. They're playing a red-hot Lions team. Their offense is humming. Their defense is humming. The Bengals' defense is bad. Their offense is bad. I think the Lions put up I almost predicted them to score more than 40, but my gut tells me Cincy's defense plays a bit better than that. Maybe they get, a key stop relatively early in the game to keep it close. And that's why the Lions will score 40. I think 35, I feel good around that number for the Lions. I have them covering the spread. I feel fairly confident they will, but I probably won't bet it just to be safe. Cincy, their offense is bad. They're, with Browning, obviously really struggling. Their offensive line's a disaster. The Detroit defense has been really good. I could see a scenario where the Bengals offense figures some things out. Browning and company move the ball well. I kind of am predicting that a little. I have them scoring 21. I could see them maybe scoring like 27, something like that. But for them to win the game, it's just going to be tough. Their offense is going to have to score more than 21, I'm sure. Their defense is going to have to play a lot better than I'm expecting them to. I just cannot see how Jake Browning and this struggling Bengals offense is going to outscore the Lions offense, which is again humming right now. And this again, the Cincy defense is a disaster right now. Bengals don't have too much going for them right now. Could see it being sort of closer than this, but I'm pretty confident with the Lions. I would be a bit surprised if they lose this game, honestly. I'm going to predict them to win the game 35-21. Bit intrigued as how it plays out, but I'm pretty confident with the Lions straight up in this one. Commanders Chargers, this should be a pretty good game. I'm pretty confident with the Chargers straight up. I think their defense, well, their defense played well enough for them to win the game last week, but I don't think it played, as good as it has most of the season. I think they kind of bounce back, get back on track in this game. It is confirmed that Daniels and McLaurin, or Daniels and Samuel, Samuel played last week, but okay, I'm getting mixed up here. Debo played last week, but he's banged up, questionable. He's going to be playing in this one, and then Jane Daniels is back. That's what I was trying to say. Jesus, my God, I just got all my names mixed up there. So obviously that's a bit of a boost, even though Mariota played really well for the Commanders. But I think, as I say, with a lot of when I'm talking with Commanders in most of my videos, I think they're going to regress a bit this year, and I think we've kind of seen that a bit. Jane Daniels, I think, will have a really good year. I don't think he's going to play as well as he did last year, and I think the Chargers are going to pick up on that. Very well coached defense. They take advantage of any weakness that the opposing offense has. I think Jane Daniels isn't going to do too much in this game. The Chargers defense is going to bounce back. And again, they only allowed 21 last week. It felt like the Giants moved the ball on them most of the game. Dart killed them in the run game. They could not stop them on third down, it felt like. I think the Chargers defense gets back on track, even though they only have one less point. Or I had them allowing only one less point than they did against the Giants. I think overall they play a better game. And I think the Chargers offense, which is what basically lost in the game with the poor coaching from Greg Roman not running the ball, even though they were running it well, they just refused to do it with a banged up offensive line, missing two starters against the ferocious Giants pass rush. He just threw the ball nonstop. What lost them the game, in my opinion. I think they get back on track. Commanders' defense is a mess right now. Even against Geno Smith, who 2 out of the 4 games is looked like the worst quarterback in the league. And of course, the other game was against my team. He was unstoppable. He even against this defense, even though they blew the Raiders out, he looked good in that game. He had 3 touchdowns and a really high pass rate and a bunch of yards. He looked good in that game. The Raiders got the offense moving. And again, going against the Chargers offense, you're probably going to be disappointed how they played last week, looking to bounce back. Defense struggling right now. I don't think the Chargers pop off and score 30 plus. I could see them scoring 30 plus, but I don't think they will. Maybe I kind of want to say 27 for the Chargers, but Commanders defense, I think, will have a couple of drives where it stops the Chargers. I think the game is going to be relatively close throughout, but Chargers, I think, the better team, playing better football. They bounce back after a tough loss to the Giants last week. Better defense. I think their offense is better than the Commanders right now. At least it will be in this game. Coaching I think is better on the Chargers, even though the Commanders, the coaching is pretty solid. I don't know. I just trust the Chargers defense to make an extra key stop or two more than the Commanders. I think their offense, going against a weaker defense and the Commanders, they get the job done. If the Commanders win, Jane Daniels and company, maybe he pops off in his return back. Could see that. Their defense plays a bit better than I'm expecting it to. But if they do win, I think it'll be more so the offense and Daniels and company. But I'm pretty confident with the Chargers. I'm going to pick them to win this game 24-20. I probably will bet the Chargers spread. But Chargers money line straight up would be a safer pick. But probably will bet the spread. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Chargers to win the game. Tight one here, 24-20. Sunday night. Oh, I cannot wait for this game. My team, Patriots, going into Buffalo on Sunday night. Now, originally, I would say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to pick my team to win. And then I thought I was caught up in the moment of how well we were playing against the Panthers. Then, I see the Bills are struggling to put the Saints away. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pick us to beat the Bills. I think, first of all, the Bills are favored by 8.5. I would honestly be surprised if they cover that spread. If we lose this game by more than one score, I honestly would be a bit surprised. And maybe that's me being a bit biased, but I think this is going to be a close game. I would be surprised if we lose by more than one score. Um, Sunday night in Buffalo, great measuring stick opportunity for us. I just think the Bills defense, I don't think it's been very good this season outside of that Jets game. I think it'll have a couple drives in this where we don't look too good and punting the ball. The Bills defense looks good, but for the most part, I think our offense is a good performance in this one, and I think our defense plays solid. But Josh Allen and company probably, have a sequence where they score like two straight touchdown drives to open the score up. It makes it our defense, the scoreboard makes it look worse than our defense played. And Bills Sunday night at home, even though we're a good team, we're still kind of building up. I don't think we're quite at like the elite status yet that the Bills are. So I think Allen and company, it's going to be a game where it's like, oh, the Patriots might pull it off, then Allen's going to put together a drive, get the win for the Bills. Honestly, I think this game, the big takeaway coming out of it is going to be the Bills won, but the Patriots, like, they are for real this year. It looks like is going to be the takeaway. Like, even though they lost, they're right there. It was dramatic fashion, and Allen, his clutch gene showed up, and the Bills won off that. But the Patriots were right there. They played a hell of a game. They were right there with, again, arguably the best team in the league, but they came up just short. I think that's going to be the big takeaway from this game, at least if it plays out how I'm expecting it to. But so I had the Bills winning. This is actually the first game I'm predicting us to lose this year. And again, I very well think we could pull it. If this was in Gillette, I would probably pick us to pull it off. But if we do win the game, I think it'll be because I actually am pretty confident our offense scores around 23, 24. Obviously, it would help if we could score like, more, as many points as possible, like 27, 28 or something like that. But if we do win, I think it'll be because our defense makes just a key stop or two more than I'm expecting it to. One thing with our team, well, the Bills are really good off the script this year offensively, and that's been our weakness defensive. Well, actually, our team in general, but defensively, we've allowed teams to go right down the field and score a touchdown in 3 of the 4 games. The only game we didn't was the Miami game, week 2. And then offensively, we've gone 3 and out to start every game except that week 2 game. So the slow start right there, it's going to hurt it. Well, it has hurt us, but it's going to really hurt us against an elite team like the Bills. So we got to avoid that. That'll be a key for us. And again, it's just one drive, but a tight game like this, every drive's going to matter. Obviously eliminating the turnovers. May's been really good, but turnovers killed us against this. If we have 5 turnovers, we'll get blown out by the Bills. At least we should. But like we did against the Steelers, but I don't think we'll have 5 turnovers. Eliminating the turnovers, that's going to be a big one. I could see the Bills defense forcing like a key turnover, helps them win the game here. But so I'm going to predict the Bills to win 27-23. Again, Allen and company maybe late, just do enough to get the job done. I would not bet on the Bills. Actually, as a matter of fact, if you're going to bet on the spread, I feel pretty confident we'll cover the 8.5 point spread. I'm actually a bit annoyed as a Patriots fan that it's that high, but I understand why. But I was going to say something else. Yeah, I'm very optimistic about this game. And again, I think the key takeaway from this game is going to be the Bills won, but the Patriots were right there, and they might be for real. So that's going to be the big takeaway, I think, coming out of this game. But I'm going to give this one to the Bills to slightly, get the dub here by a couple points. I had them winning 27-23. This is probably the biggest game, at least for me, like the biggest game for our franchise in literal years, because we knew last year we were going to be bad, and then the year prior, I had high hope. I thought we would be like an 11-win team in the 23 season, but obviously that was a disaster for us. I mean, this honestly, this is like the biggest game feel since, like, for me, maybe the 21 season when we played them in Buffalo in the wind game Monday night, and the winner would have the division lead late in the season. We were on our win streak, we won, and then basically after that game was downhill, except for the Jaguars game I went to when we put up a 50 burger on them. But anyway, getting off topic here. I have I'm just super excited for this game as a Patriots fan. even though I have us losing. Think we could pull it off. If we do, I'll be obviously through the roof. But I had the Bills getting a tight dub here, winning 27-23. Oh, and I double checked that I didn't mess my borders up here, but I figured I missed one. Okay. Okay, and the top border is messed up. Oh my God, I'm collapsing here. Um, okay, there we go. All right, that looks a lot better. All right, pretend that didn't happen. Monday Night Football, Chiefs Jags. This is a very intriguing matchup. I'm just getting a text here. This is a very intriguing matchup. Very excited to see how this one plays out. Now, the big question is, are the Chiefs back? That's the big question. Well, their offense is their offense right? They looked great against the Ravens last week. This is going to be a great opportunity to see that true because the Jags defense has been really solid this season. They are forcing turnovers at an unreal rate. They're number one. I forget how many turnovers they force, but they are number one in the league by I saw the stat the other day. I forget again the number they forced, but I just remember it was a ridiculous amount by a wide margin. Like the number two team, I forget who it was, but they were behind them by a good margin. So the Jags defense has been a turnover machine for forcing turnovers this season. So that's going to be interesting. They played really well this season. The Jags offense it's hot and cold this season. They look great one drive, then kind of stall out, then they look great. So they've kind of been up and down this season. The Chiefs, I have the Chiefs winning this game by 6. They're favored by 3.5. I think they'll cover that spread. I honestly, unfortunately, it's a Chiefs here. I'm a bit confident to win this game. I'll be pulling for the Jags. I definitely think the Jags have a chance to win this game. Again, if this was in Kansas City, I feel more confident in the Chiefs. But at home in Jacksonville, they're 3-1. Their fans probably have a renewed energy. I'm sure they'll help the Jags out there. With the Chiefs offense, I think it just does enough to get the job done. I don't think they're going to, score 30 plus like they did 37 I don't think they'll score 37. I'd be shocked if they did against this Jags defense. But I don't think they'll score 30. I don't think they'll play as well as they did against the Ravens. But again, the Jags, sort of like my team, the Patriots, like they're building up something, but are they really ready to contend with the top tier team like the Chiefs, like the veteran experience championship team? I think in a big game feel like this one, that's going to give the edge to the Chiefs, obviously. Just more experienced in big game feels. And again, I think that this is going to be one where it's like the Chiefs maybe jump out to an early lead, and it's like, yeah, no, all right, well, Chiefs are going to win this game. And then maybe the Jags force a turnover, they get a touchdown try. It's like, oh, here come the Jags. It's like, and the Jags steal this one, but the Chiefs end up winning. I think honestly, that's how I think the game is going to play out. Chiefs defense, I think, plays a really good game in this one. I think, Lawrence and company kind of struggle in the offense, struggle for most of this game. They get a couple touchdown tries. Maybe they get good field position from their defense, forcing a turnover, something like that. I think this will be one of the games, as I just outlined, where the Chiefs are in control, Jags trailing most of the game, probably because of the way the defense is playing for the Chiefs. And, they make a push late and it's like, oh, here we go. The Chiefs hold on. That's kind of how I see this game playing out. Chiefs offense, again, I think it'll have a good game, not as good as it played against the Ravens last week, but I think I can just envision it right now, like Kelce somehow just being wide open over the middle. It's like, how the hell, even though Kelce's washed, like how the hell is Kelce this wide open? He gets a big play on a big third down, something like that. I can see that in my mind already. Hopefully it doesn't happen as a Chiefs hater, but I can see that playing out. I'm unfortunately confident with the Chiefs. I think their defense, again, kind of limits the Jags offense. So then that allows the Chiefs offense to do what they've done the past 2 years since they've been mid, just methodically, drive up the field, 10 plus play drives, instead of having to consistently pass down multiple scores. I think that's going to be the reason the Chiefs win this game. And again, the Jags, if they do win this game, obviously it's going to help if their defense can continue to force turnovers at the rate they've been forcing them. their offense, I think, is going to have to play a bit better than I'm expecting them to, and their defense too. Because I think their defense is kind of going to get the ball moved on at a good rate. I think they'll get a couple stops. I think the Chiefs methodically are going to move the ball on them for most of this game. So both their offense and their defense, probably more so their offense in my mind, are just going to have to play a bit better than I'm expecting them to. Great measuring stick opportunity for the Jags, just like I was saying with my team going against an elite team, even though the Chiefs have, outside of that Ravens game last week, not looked elite by any means this season. But could see the Jags pulling it off, but I'm gonna roll the Chiefs to win this one 26-20 here, but I'll certainly be pulling for the Jaguars. Okay. Yep, all right, just double checking I got all the games here. So yes, obviously a couple less games than normal. You get a couple teams in the bye this week, which absolutely railed one of my fantasy teams. I have Dean Ricardo and Rico Dowdle starting. That is how thin I am with one of my teams, which actually Dowdle is going to get a decent amount of snaps because they just announced Chuba Hubbard's out. So hopefully Dowdle gets a decent amount of action. So that's how thin one of my teams is with injuries and bye weeks. Looks like a good mix of games this week. Some intriguing games, some not so intriguing games, like Titans Cardinals. I'm not too excited for. I mean, Giants Saints. I mean, again, not high hopes for either of those teams, but very intriguing as to how that game plays out. So some good games. Obviously excited for my game against my team's game against the Bills. I just was talking about. So some very intriguing games. Should be another exciting week. So I always say, good luck with fantasy picks, your bets, all that good stuff. Hopefully you guys and your team, unless it's like the Chiefs or something or a team I'm rooting against, no offense. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoy the week of football and take it easy, guys.